remember back in the day, maybe you don't, but we used to put on a listing, it was one picture. That was all you were allowed, was the front picture. And so, going backwards like this, it almost seems like we're going backwards, but maybe we have to go backwards to move forward.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the clear cooperation policy and why that may be reversed by NAR very shortly here. So to kind of recap, the clear cooperation policy is a National Association of Realtors policy that requires brokers to submit properties to the MLS within one business day of marketing them to the public. The policy was adopted in November 2019 and went into effect January 1st of 2020. So to rewind even further, in 2017, Shawn, the PLS came out. Okay, so the Pocket Listing Service came out. It was founded by Umansky from the agency out in California, and he and others were coming up with a way to showcase properties without putting them on the MLS. He works with a lot of high net worth individuals, celebrity clients. For whatever reason, sometimes sellers have reasons that they don't want to be on the publicly facing MLS. They don't want to rack up days on market. And so the PLS was founded to get around this, to have a database of houses that weren't on the MLS. And it was gaining a lot of steam. A lot of agents were signing up. A lot of listings were showing up. And then the NAR met and the MLSs met. And they said, well, hold on. This is really hurting our, dare I say, data integrity, Shawn. This is really, hurting properties being listed there and not here. And so they came up with the clear cooperation policy, which essentially eliminated the PLS. The PLS is now the National Listing Service, but it's kind of gone underground because they've squashed their competition. They came out with a rule that essentially eliminated their competitors. And now, after that was initiated, there's a couple lawsuits that have gone on involving the clear cooperation policy, and now the NAR and MLSs are meeting to determine whether or not they should reverse the clear cooperation policy and get rid of it. So first of all, what are your thoughts on clear cooperation?
Wow. This is a lot to wrangle my head around. And honestly, I'm like going through so many things as you're talking because I just learned something from Matt through this. And, clear cooperation, in my opinion, can be good, right? Can be good because it gives information to all real estate agents, all the public. But let's kind of digest this a little bit. Right? Okay. Why is there a clear cooperation structure? Why is that there first off? And let's see who the head of that clear cooperation is. And you said NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. National Association of Realtors is an association. Right?
Trade
we
group.
are paying the trade group as real estate agents, as realtors. We pay into that trade group. So that trade group is saying, hey, we want clear cooperation. Why? Maybe because we want members, right? Maybe it's selfish because, hey, we need membership. We need to control something. And in order to control something, that is how we get our membership. So you have to think of the origins of this. The other MLSs are the same way. They wouldn't exist without this rule, without the clear cooperation. And so they are always going to come together and say, hey, we need to cooperate. So they do clear cooperation, right?
Let me ask you this. Why do you use Bright MLS?
Because that's the only system that we know of to use.
It's the only thing that you can use.
Yeah.
So, Compass CEO Robert Revkin, who, by the way, has a vested interest in getting rid of clear cooperation because Compass touts their private exclusive listings.
And that's what you have to remember is, if it's not clear cooperation, it's going to go to any other website. And Compass already has a platform that they push as their own. And so naturally that would benefit Compass. And so everybody's voting on this for their own reasons. Right?
Well, Robert Revkin says it's forced cooperation. It's not
kind
clear
of right,
cooperation because agents are members of MLSs and associations, not because they want to, because they have to, because they don't have any other options.
That's true.
Now, some say that the MLS is a monopoly. I don't disagree. What are the options? What other providers are out there do you have to list the properties?
Zero. You don't have any other options.
And if you say, oh, well, you could just list it on Zillow, well, you'd get a fine, okay? So there have been some rule changes involving private exclusives, okay? Pocket listings. In the past 5 years, the rules have changed. The goalposts keep moving.
Yeah.
Because it used to be you can have a pocket listing and kind of just do whatever the heck you want with it.
Right.
Then they came out with the clear cooperation and said you can have a private listing, but you can only share it within your office, within your own brokerage, which is why they would call it, a pocket listing or a office exclusive. And then it changed to say, okay. You can have the private exclusive and you can market it wherever, as long as it's not on the MLS, then it would be an active listing. But you still have to submit the listing on the back end of the MLS so we know what's going on. Okay, so the MLS and the NAR keep saying that the clear cooperation policy is in place for data integrity. But what's actually happening is there's no other option. There's no other game in town. They're forcing sellers to make one and only decision on where to put the property when it comes up for sale, which kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I would say that it rubs me the wrong way. When you actually start thinking about this, because we as real estate agents, we've known one system. I've been doing this 21 years. I've always put it on the MLS. That's all I've known. So I've never really questioned it because it's just how the system worked, right? But when you actually start thinking about it, you're like, why do I have to put it on the MLS? Wait, why am I a realtor instead of a real estate agent? Why do I have to go through these little things? And, if you're not a realtor, then you don't have access to lock boxes and you don't have, so it's control.
They're all linked.
When you start thinking about it, it's control. It's controlled by a bigger, higher power. And that's where, I've never really honestly thought about this before, but it kind of rubs you the wrong way. It's like, wait, if I have a client that wants me to sell their house, why can't I do it the way that I want to do it? And maybe I think that in some ways the clear cooperation is good because yes, everything is put in kind of the same way. All the information is out there in a nice blanketed way. That's a good thing to have, but to be forced to do it is where it starts going bad.
What I'm thinking is, do you think it's in your home seller's best interest to always list the property on the MLS?
No, because there's so many different situations.
But the MLS will tell you, and studies, they force this office exclusive agreement on us that says, hey, you need to have your client sign it before you submit an office exclusive to the MLS. It says in the largest font possible, multiple studies have shown that listing your property on the MLS, it feels like the MLS thinks that they're smarter than us. It feels like the MLS NAR thinks that our sellers are idiots and don't know how to sell a property. When oftentimes sellers will just want to test out a price without racking up days on the market, or don't want their neighbors to find out, or just simply want an alternative to blasting it out to the public.
Yeah. I mean, in our listing agreement, it says, do you want the address on websites? Because when we put something on the MLS through clear cooperation, it's then disseminated to every agent's website, every website out there. So if you go to my website, I have every listing on there that, you can search for it. But sometimes people don't want their all that information out there. Right?
How many times have we seen a post go on coming soon and it says no showings, property is, occupied. And then in a realtor Facebook group, it says, you would not believe there were random people walking through my client's backyard, at 6 p.m. They're out scouting the plot. And people have no self-awareness for privacy.
Correct.
Right? They're just going to see it on coming soon and just say, oh, I'm just going to poke around the outside of the house and just check it out. And they're walking in the driveway. They're going in the yard. So I fully understand why homeowners maybe don't want to take the public route, or why they don't want to have the photos or the address listed publicly.
Yeah, and if you think about these companies, like there's people in this area that are in that huge high luxury realm, right? We're talking 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, $14 million properties. This is a whole different realm, and there are some companies, some agents around this area that have a lock on this. They have a lock on, people seek them out to sell these huge properties, these beautiful multi-million-dollar properties, because one, they have experience, they have the contacts. So why do they need the MLS as much? How many agents actually have clients for this 12, 15 million dollar client? I've never had one that high, but these people that do have these $15 million clients, they get them more often. And so does it benefit them to be on the MLS? Probably not as much as it does for the $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 houses, right? I mean, because it becomes an exclusivity. And it's the same thing with anything. When you, as Matt Leighton in the Belvedere, Matt does a lot of business in the Belvedere. So if he had a website, which he does, and it was belvedere.com, then he could promote that website. And then anybody that wanted to live in the Belvedere, they'd come to Matt's website instead, which is in turn promoting him. And because he has kind of a stranglehold on this market, it's just the way, same thing with anything. So I think it could work in that regard. And honestly, that's more of the way it used to work back in the day before we had these big websites like Zillow that have stolen our information.
Little punch there to Zillow. So I've kind of gone back and forth in the past 3 days. I'll wake up, read a new string of comments, and say, all right, I'm pro cooperation.
Exactly.
Then I'll read some more comments. I'm like, wait a second, this is terrible. I'm anti. So, a couple key points from Real Estate News. Zillow tells Real Estate News that the removal of the policy would encourage an uneven playing field, which stands to disadvantage buyers, sellers, and agents. eXp Realty CEO Leo Pareja says that the MLS is the most liquid, accurate, and complete data set, and disrupting it would be a travesty. Shawn, if the MLS was disrupted, how would that look? What sort of products would we see? How would we have to find a house? Would I have to go to every single agent's random Belvedere, ShawnBattle.com listing site to find properties? What would that even look like?
That's a really good question. I don't know, because that's why Clear Cooperation in one way is really good, because it's a centralized system where we can have all of the information, and then that system is disseminated to everybody. So I think it would be really difficult, and there would probably be some sort of other business that swoops in that takes over. And one of them could be Zillow. Now, you think about why does Zillow want Clear Cooperation? Well, Zillow is basically a receiver of our information. They receive all of the information that we put in the MLS. They get it. How do they get it? I don't know. It was given away years ago for free. I don't know if they pay. Why not? I was thinking of this on the way over. Like, why doesn't Zillow pay us for the information? If we have a listing and they want it on their website, they should be paying us, right? It's our information. And
maybe they will.
And that's the way it could change, right? So maybe Zillow becomes the centralized locator and says, all right, everybody's going to come to us, but in order for us to get this information, we're going to pay every listing agent for that information. Because let's face it, somebody sold us out in the past, all right? So like there was not only the MLS, but the MLS was the only source. And there was like a Homes database or something like that, which was awful, which was more public facing. But it should have been created by, our system should have been created. We pay money into NAR. NAR should have come up with the system that said, hey, here is our website and you should be using this as the public. But instead we had a corporation, a company come in, a startup, and say, hey, there's all this information out there. You think we could get it? Okay, let's go try to get it. I don't know if they paid anybody anything for that or if they continue to pay somebody for that, but now they have all of the information, and Zillow is the key player in this. They're the biggest website out there. And so naturally, they would lose from the immediate unclear cooperation. If it went away, they would be the losers in it. But there's always something else that can happen,
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that NAR and the MLS is lost to Zillow when it comes to data dissemination. And I think NAR even sold the Realtor.com database URL like a while ago, domain a while ago. Shawn, I want to, to me, the writing is kind of on the wall. So In 2017, the PLS comes out, is wildly popular. 3 years later, the MLS comes out with a rule essentially banning the PLS. And then a year later, you get these lawsuits. You get the Top Agent Network. Shawn, do you remember that?
Yep.
That started suing the MLS and NAR. And then the PLS also sued NAR along with Bright MLS and then a couple other MLSs. To me, the writing's on the wall. To me, it looks like the current version of clear cooperation is just it's just not going to work.
It's forced.
It's forced cooperation. It's going to be changed. I don't know how that's going to change, but from a liability standpoint, Bright MLS has kind of actually been like ahead of the competition, ahead of everyone else in terms of getting out in front of potential liabilities. So I would say that they're probably going to be in the forefronts of making some sort of changes. But I want to live in a world where there's options, there's choice, there's a free market, Shawn.
That's right.
We live in the United States. People in America like a free market rather than choosing one specific option, especially when that one specific option creates a rule that eliminates the possibility for any other options. But if the NAR and the MLSs, if the MLS kind of just goes away or becomes optional, what world is that going to leave the sellers in? Because we want to get the sellers the best price, or do we? Do all sellers want the best price? Maybe they want privacy. Maybe they want something else.
Every seller wants something different. And that's the thing is, in my mind, when I'm going on listing appointments or putting properties on the market and pricing properties, I'm always thinking, man, I want to get my clients the best price that I possibly can. But there's plenty of times where people are like, I just want this done quickly. I don't care about the price. I don't want people to know about it. I want my neighbors to know. I don't want anything going on. Just sell it, right? So how would we get that information out without this without the MLS or without Zillow or helping us?
Another company would come in. It could be Zillow adopting it. It could be the PLS, which is now the NLS, which is very similar to the MLS, or it could be another company. I mean, agents have been saying for years, I don't like the MLS. We should create something new.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the market's going to determine what the users end up doing.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, we will create something better and more user-friendly. And I think once that's adopted and we're not forced to use that system, people will just use the system naturally, the one that works best for them, or two different systems, or however we do it. Maybe there's an ultra-luxury system. Maybe there's a mid-grade system. Maybe it goes by price point. Maybe it goes by location. I think it all can change and it can all be totally different. But I think good things can come from this. I don't think it's all bad news. And if you look at the different arguments for them, they're all pretty selfish reasons why they want it or why they don't want it. And honestly, like you, I could go back and forth for the arguments. But when I really think about it and you think, man, I'm forced to do this, you kind of start changing your mind. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait a second, I don't want to be forced to have to join NAR, be a member of the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, have to be a realtor, have to in order to open and close lockboxes, and have to put my information on a particular website that is then disseminated to people maybe I don't want it disseminated to. Do you ever think of that? Like, maybe I don't want it to go there. And I guess we can opt out of that if we wanted to. But it's a tough situation. I could go either way. But, when you start thinking about it, you're like, because we never really had to think about it. We never really were thinking about it because we're so busy just putting things on the market and letting it go.
I do have a concern, Shawn. Okay?
Yeah.
That concern is that I feel like we're kind of reverting back to the old days where the agents have all the power. Now, we should live in a world where the agents are the experts and consumers also can see what agents can see.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to gatekeep all the information, or at least I'm going to talk for myself, and if you disagree with me, fine. I don't want to be the gatekeeper. I don't want people to call me and say, hey, what's for sale? Like, there should be a way for the public to see what's for sale. Now, you mentioned, high net worth realtors and clients, and if only a certain person or a certain agent can show houses in a certain price bracket, to me, that rings some sort of like fair housing alarm bells. So
yeah, you have to be careful.
That's where, once agents start controlling these private listings, there's room for bad actors.
Yeah.
And so that would be my concern.
You bring up a huge, great point, because this will happen. It will happen. It happens even when there are strict rules to follow. Agents find backdoors to do pocket listings like they were doing, or take advantage of the public. And that's one thing that people don't understand, is that we have not only the MLS provides us that, but we have contracts that we use. We have a regional sales contract that we all use. And sometimes some people have people sign, say you're in an open house. I've seen this before, where agencies were holding open houses and they're like, oh, to see this house, you have to sign this document. Ended up being a buyer-broker agreement, an agreement saying that now I represent you as the buyer. So then when they go and write on a property, this person says, hey, wait a second, I have this brokerage agreement signed. This was a couple of years ago, and I don't know that it would still go on now, but there's always going to be those bad actors that take advantage of the public in a way that shouldn't happen. And so how do you remedy that once we are not on clear cooperation, I guess, And so that's where we have to be careful, that we can all wish that we have more power with our information and that it's not forced and we don't have to use this certain one. But then the consequences could be bad in the public sector. It could be taken over by certain agents. And so I don't think that's a good thing in the future.
Can I issue my formal stance on this?
Sure,
and
I'd love to, because I'm flip-flopping.
I'm gonna try not to stumble through this, but if I fall down, catch me. So I think that overall having a standardized MLS system is a good thing.
Yes.
I think that the amount of data that's available and the ease that consumers and agents alike that can access the MLS is a good thing. What I don't think is a good thing is forcing a homeowner only one option if they want eyeballs on their property. Now, you can show me all the data in the world about how you're going to get more money on the MLS versus, a homeowner with a flip phone taking some photos and putting it up on Zillow. Like, I'm not going to believe any sort of bright MLS, market data points just because they're going to be so skewed, right? Mm-hmm. But although I like the MLS, I think that significant changes need to happen. The whole linking of the association with the MLS, with the lockbox, and forcing consumers and homeowners to only have one option. I want to sign into Bright MLS enthusiastically, not begrudgingly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I like the current system. The current system is not working, and change needs to happen imminently. Additionally, there's a couple lawsuits and the DOJ staring down the barrel of this. So to me, we will see immediate changes, possibly before the month is over.
Yeah. And you remember, again, we used to have all these groups, like Facebook groups. Everybody would be posting in these Facebook groups, and it was cool in some ways, right? Like we had the Arlington one where you'd find out about properties before they were coming on the market, so you could share that information with your clients. It worked really well. There was no bad actors. I mean, maybe there was, but I didn't see anything bad about it. But
I'm going to go post my private listing in the Arlington Facebook group, which hasn't been active for 2 months. Everyone posts their Alexandria and Lorton listings. Yeah. And anyways, sorry, go on.
No, so I mean, that was it. I mean, I could go back both ways.
Do you have an official stance now that we've talked about it?
My official stance says that there should be something centralized to put the information into, but to be made to do it is not the way that it should work. And I shouldn't have to belong to associations to do so, and I shouldn't have to belong to associations to open lockboxes. And if you think about it, what is the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent? It's a code of ethics.
I don't think the public could tell you that.
Yeah, it's a code of ethics that we follow, and then we pay up an association some money.
Yeah, how's that code of ethics working?
Yeah, it's like,
how's that working
I think
out?
It's your own code of ethics in your body that's telling you what to do. And there are some things. Well, it's statewide what you can and can't do, right? How discrimination works. You can't discriminate in any way possible, right? And so you have to have that in your own mind, in your own body, to say, I'm not going to do this. Of course, naturally, I wouldn't do that, but there are people that would, and so I don't know. It's a tough situation to see this kind of dissolve in ways, but I'll tell you what, before before Zillow was there, was it harder to see properties? Absolutely. Was it harder for the public to see properties or to see information? Yeah. And this is before a real strong internet really took place. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like we have now, And so the information just wasn't out there. And remember back in the day, maybe you don't, but we used to put on a listing. It was one picture. That was all you were allowed, was the front picture. And so, going backwards like this, it almost seems like we're going backwards, but maybe we have to go backwards to move forward. I don't know.
Man, Shawn Battle with the quotes. Maybe we have to go backwards to move forward. I think my official stance was one big cop-out because I like the MLS. It's not working right now, and we need to change something. So I think that's me sticking my hand in two different cookie jars at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'd love to see the comments on this video to see what people think. We're all real estate agents, public as well. What are your thoughts on having this centralized system and getting the information? It's great information out there, but we're forced.
Yeah. All right. So the final thing, and we'll wrap it up here, is people that are against clear cooperation will say, now the buyer agent really matters. Now your network really matters. Mm-hmm. Man, there's like 30,000 real estate agents in Northern Virginia, in the DC area that are, NVAR, GCAR, Washington, DC, Maryland, Virginia. I don't know all 30,000 of them. I don't have inner workings with all 30,000. So, someone could come on with a listing right next to me that I've never heard of. They've done one listing and we would have never known about it unless it was on the MLS. So
correct.
I'm not necessarily, maybe if you're in that $10 million to $20 million price range where you kind of know who's going to get the listing.
Yeah. But
as for the meat of the market, right, that 500 to kind of 1.2 range, I mean, the area codes could be 703, 301, 540, 443. It could be any, Johnny Realtor under the sun.
Yeah. And that's the problem is if we don't have some sort of centralized system, then it's just splintered in way too many areas. So and it's not going to be good.
Sorry, I meant to have a follow-up point. So the point of that was to say, now I have to go to 10,000 different websites.
Hey, Tommy, you got any listings?
Yeah. So if you're a consumer and you're saying, good, down with realtors, down with everything. All right. So now you as a consumer, what if it's not on Zillow? What if it's not on the MLS? It's going to be fragmented on all these other websites. And
how are you going to find
maybe you as a consumer, you don't want a buyer's agent. All right, that's fine. Now you have to find all these random real estate agent websites and go out and find these listings yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that benefits the consumer. Doesn't sound like it. I don't know if it benefits the agent. Doesn't sound like it. And I don't know if that benefits the homeowner. Doesn't sound like it.
And I guarantee you what a lot of people are going to say, and I'll say it right now, is it's just going to be a for sale by owner platform, and the owner can just put their thing on the market, and we bypass realtors altogether. So you can do that. It's available right now if you want to do that. The people that are going to comment that, it's there.
The thing is, we should let the open market decide what's best for consumers and clients alike. And right now, the open market is closed because there's a rule in place.
Yeah, no, 100%.
All right, well, that'll just about wrap it up. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comment section below. If you like this discussion, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. And for Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.